2019 marks the 9th year of the Comp Safari Interclub Championship, promoted by the Staffordshire and Shropshire Land Rover Club. And with the registrations filling up fast, it looks set to be another competitive season. The opening round of the championship then takes place over the May Bank holiday weekend. And as well as the racing, there would be plenty of other activities going on, with various classes of trials taking up the first 2 days, and even a fun bike trial for the kids on the Sunday evening. Always a great family social weekend. Scrutineering of the cars takes place on the Sunday night before the racing begins in earnest on Monday. So let's get straight to the action as the 2019 season gets underway. It would be a great start to the event for Kevin Stubbs and Ian Roberts. They do start off a little cautious, but soon pick up the pace as the morning went on and the confidence grew, taking a lead of 10 seconds by the midway point. For Mike Hannock and Paul Bramley, he will be second. No problems to report for the pair. They'd be keeping the leaders in their sights and keeping things neat and tidy. Ian Gregg starts the season off well, taking third at this stage in the day, just 13 seconds back from Hannock as well, so there was still chance for a further fight and a climb up that leaderboard. Pete Roberts and Anthony Brinkman were no strangers to success, both in this championship and in others. The defending champions starting the day with 4th place. The times starting to come down as well as the morning went on. The fight could well and truly be on into the afternoon. An overshoot through the opening run would set Ian Childs and David Moore back a little more than they would have wanted, but they were still going strong, leading the way in Class 2, sitting in 5th place. Aston and Martin Cox, meanwhile, will be here this weekend with a newly built engine in the car. A slightly different brief for them then. It was all about testing and bedding themselves and that engine in. Our reigning Northern Off-Road champions ending the morning with 6th place overall. For Stephen Adams, it would be 7th. The times to the podium positions were starting to get a little bigger now, but the battles at this end of our top 10 leaderboard were still raging. It would be the lead in Class 8 to start the day for Jason Rowlands, a man who always goes well on whatever he competes on. His run time a minute faster by run 3, so clearly on a big push and making progress. And it would be the lead in Class 3 for Grant Mitchell-Smith, actually on an identical time to Rowlands at this stage, so it was all to play for through the afternoon. With no time to walk the course this weekend, it would be a bit like the blind leading the blind for the first couple of runs for Ken Powell and Jonathan Stevenson. But that wasn't stopping them putting in some good times to end the morning, rounding out our top 10 overall. A new engine in the car had only just been finished prior to the event, so this weekend would be the first time turning it over. Let's take a look then at some of the stories unfolding outside of our top 10. And it would be their first time driving the new car for Tim Mangum and Dan Barron this weekend. The pair out in the ex-James Tennant Maserati. This would also be the first time competing for Dan in that navigator's seat. The pair lying in 12th place overall, very strong considering that set of circumstances. Just behind that Maserati on the results would be Jim Roberts, loving the course. And it was showing, ending the morning with 2nd in Class 2. And for Adam Bunting, it would be 2nd place in Class 8 this morning, going well in the class here in that Yamaha buggy. The 2019 season would mark their first full season in the car for Lewis Simon and Becca Skelly, and things were starting as they meant to go on as well, leading the way in Class 4 by the midpoint of the day in 18th overall. Paul and Kyle Shaw, meanwhile, hadn't raced in over a year, so they would be trying to settle in slowly. Things were going okay though, 4th in the class at the end of the morning's runs. Frustratingly for them, it would all end there, with the diff exploding as they finished the final run of the morning, forcing them to retire. And it would be a similar story for this pair, Ben Hawkins and Leslie Brown. Things had started well, 2nd in their class in fact, but sadly, they'd lose drive and steering soon afterwards, forced to call it a day. A lack of steering seemed to be an issue for Guy Fernihoe too, as you might imagine it would be, losing the steering down the long back straight, thankfully not resulting in anything major or disastrous, and ending the morning with third in Class 3 as well as a damage limitation exercise of 22nd on the overall leaderboard. John and Linda Webster would be happy to admit that their car was one of the cheapest here, but that wasn't stopping them from having fun and pushing on. They reached this point in the event with 4th place in Class 3. They would be having a few issues selecting 1st and 4th gear though. And here are our previous class winners in the championship, Steve Ham and Sue Maynard. Back again to look for another good result, and things starting well. 2nd in Class 4 at this point, but with just less than 30 seconds to catch up to the class leaders, the fight would be on. There'd be a few changes needed to the suspension over the morning runs for Will McQuarrie and Rebecca McLean, but with the setup sorted, the times were starting to come tumbling down. This would actually be the first time co-driving for Rebecca too. And speaking of firsts, this would be the first ever Comp Safari for Ollie and Phil Booth. They wouldn't have it easy though. Electrical problems on the 2nd run would lose them some valuable time, but they remain 5th in the class and apparently loving their first time out in the car. This weekend would be the first time out for this car in 13 years. Nigel Alcock and Millie Jones bringing the early bowler Wildcat out after the car competed in the Dakar and was heavily crashed before being brought back from the desert and rebuilt to a more suitable spec for Comp Safari. Things going well for the pair despite being a bit rusty after a long time out of the seat, and we are not talking about the car. There would be just one car in Class 6 this weekend, so the battle for Bill Hewitson would just be against the course and himself, and possibly the clock, of course, for that class victory. He did, of course, need to finish, and things were going well for now in 40th overall. Richard Kesey and Bert Buller would end the morning a lot further down the leaderboard than they would have planned. A two-wheeled moment on the opening run would be a bit of a scare, but worse was to come on run 3, the diff exploding and the pair grinding to a halt. They do manage to source a new one, and with the help of friends and fellow competitors, true club motorsport this, they get things sorted, ready to catch up in the afternoon. It was a puncture on the 2nd run of the day, halting progress for Steve Cobbold and Angela Partington. It would have a little more of a negative effect than usually expected as well, sending the pair off the course over the finish line and taking out the timing equipment. They go into an unscheduled early lunch break then, with 11th in the class, 46th overall. Class 7 would be another class with just the one crew, so that leading position would belong to this man Sam Smith with Tom Smith alongside. The pair were having a few problems on the opening run of the day, but they get things going, and it was going much better for them after that. Unfortunately though, the weekend wouldn't be so kind to everyone. We'd lose Warren Roper when he breaks the diff early into the event. Quite clearly a hard event if you're a differential, this one, resulting in trying to repair the car before having to call it a day. We'd also lose Steve Hill and Richard Canterbury on run 2 in a more dramatic fashion. The pair crashing out of the event before our cameras got there. The car looking sorry for itself by the side of the course, unable to go any further this weekend as you might expect. And we'd also lose Alec Fern and Darren Tansley on run 2. The Class 3 title victors from the previous season would suffer with clutch issues, causing their event to come to a premature end. And so, as the event reaches the midway point, the results at the top of the leaderboard are starting to unfold. They look like this. On we go to the afternoon runs then, and we would unfortunately lose Ken Powell and Jonathan Stevenson, electrical gremlins, causing them to stop on run 4. Of the finishers though, it would be 37th place overall for Steve Cobbold and Angela Partington. The pair happy just to get to the finish regardless of the result this weekend. Sam and Tom Smith keep things going to the end of the event as well to take the Class 7 victory, ending the event in style from 34th overall. And it would be a similar story for Bill Hewitson. The Class 6 win was his, a few places up the leaderboard in 31st. The weekend, though, hadn't gone to plan exactly for Simon Cooper. Co-driven this weekend by daughters Danny and Alex Cooper. Issues early into the event meant that they would be playing catch-up, and when things were going again, they were putting in some good times, taking 7th in the class, 30th overall at the end of a difficult opening round. A few issues with the brakes and gears would be all that Nigel Alcock and Millie Jones had to complain about. But they were nothing major, and the pair would still be enjoying their weekend out on the course. They end the event with 3rd in Class 4, 28th on the leaderboard. We'd see some change now to 2nd place in Class 4 through the afternoon. John Hewitson taking hold of that position. Unable to take victory this weekend, but climbing to that result was a good way to end the day and, indeed, a good way to start his season. Damage limitation, though, would be the name of the game for this man, Richard Kesey, Bert Buller alongside, eventually getting the repairs done and heading out for back-to-back runs to get a finish. 8th in the class, 22nd overall. There's a change in the lead of Class 4 as well. Previous class leaders, Lewis Simon and Becca Skelly, pick up a maximum time on the 5th run of the day, dropping them right down the results, which meant that it would be victory here this weekend for Phil Bayliss. A good, strong run after a last-minute entry to the event to take that class victory and 20th overall. A few overshoots throughout the day, luckily without any damage, would be all that Will Macquarie and Rebecca McLean would have going wrong for them this weekend. They end the day, as a result, with 19th overall, 4th in Class 3. For John and Linda Webster, it would be gear issues the problem. Hopefully, the issue would be nothing too serious. A suspected relay problem could be the issue. The gearbox in the car is an auto box converted with a homemade paddle shift system. Despite the issues, innovation wins out. The pair still take 3rd in Class 3 this weekend. Just ahead of them in the class would be Guy Fernihoe, actually level on times with Webster up ahead, but a 15-second penalty for Webster would be the decider that they were looking for. 2nd in the class, a great end to the day. Ollie and Phil Booth would be more than happy with their result this weekend on their first time out. They'd shown some good pace. They'd certainly be ones to watch in the class this season, 4th in Class 8, 14th overall. And for Adam Bunting, it would be 2nd in Class 8. A good end to the event with 12th place on the leaderboard as well. We move then thick and fast onto the top 10, and it would be Jim Roberts rounding out the top 10 overall positions, taking 2nd place in Class 2 as well with that result. For Grant Mitchell-Smith, it will be the Class 3 victory. A good end to the event for Grant, taking 9th place overall as well. It would be a trouble-free run with no major issues to report for Tim Mangum and Dan Barron. They reached the end of their first event in the car in one piece, happy with how things had gone and with some ideas for a few changes ahead of the next round of the season. 6th in the class, 8th overall for the pair. Just ahead of Mangum in the class and overall leaderboards was Stephen Adams. A good end to the event for him, taking 7th place overall. Jason Rowlands, though, would still be trying right through the afternoon, and it showed. The Class 8 victory his as a result of that effort. A good end to the day with that class win and 6th on the leaderboard. And some adjustments to the suspension at the end of last season had made the 2019 season start off in style for Ian Charles and David Moore. They were able to hit the ground running, taking the Class 2 victory as well as a fantastic 5th place. It was safe to say that newly built engine had done exactly what it came out of the box to do for Aston and Martin Cox. They reached the end of this event with 4th place overall, and in the class as well. A good, strong test for the pair on the board. There would be nothing, though, that Pete Roberts and Anthony Brinkman could do to close in on our leaders this weekend. They had a few gearbox issues to contend with as well, which didn't help their cause. But they'd be happy to admit that this just wasn't to be their weekend. A similar story for Mike Hannock and Paul Bramley. Another runner-up spot, still chasing that first overall victory. But for now, it would have to wait. 2nd place, though, was a strong end to the event. 21 seconds of a difference by the end. So that, of course, means that it's victory for Kevin Stubbs. A change of co-driver through the afternoon runs with Dad Henry taking over. A great way to start the season with maximum points on the board at the opening round. So confirmation then of the results from the opening round of the championship. Some close overall and class battles already developing at this very early stage in the season, boding well for the show, and we hope you'll join us next time.
Yeah, it was good. Started off a little bit tentative. Mike had beat us on the first one, but then we got going. Had a good day. Yeah, it was rough, really rough. But I think no rain, so that out matters. And so no, it was a good day. Good day.
Yeah, still looking for that first win. Really good course, really good day. Car still in one piece, so can't complain. Yeah, really good day. Greasy to start with. Course started to cut up towards the end. I think everyone's feeling it a bit now. But yeah, we managed to bring it in, and I think Rich is still out there, but we might have second overall, which I'll take. Good start to the season.
The course was quite good, really. I think we've been very lucky with the weather conditions. The course is typical Baden, it's rough and technical, but overall I've got away with it. The car's in one piece. Had a few problems with the gearbox. It doesn't seem to be playing ball around here. But yeah, it's been a good day, to be honest. I think I couldn't catch the two guys in the front. I hadn't got the speed on them today, so congratulations to Kev. I believe he's won. Mike second. I think I'm third. Ian Gregg's got a couple more runs to do. He's got an outside chance of going past me, so fingers crossed he won't. So hopefully a third.